Today we've got 6 of the best, most popular discontinued fragrances on the market and some of their best alternatives. Now the key word here is alternatives. There's definitely some here that I would say are clones of each other, but there are a couple that really get about as close as I can find. There's a couple fragrances in here that just don't seem to have any solid actual clones of them, but we do have some things that get very, very close. Now this video was requested by one of my channel members. Shout out to Mr. J for requesting this video. His comment is right here and it got a ton of likes, so it seems like a lot of people wanted to see this video. Now his suggestion was a top 10. We've only got 6, like I said. It's a bit hard to find alternatives, find good clones to a lot of these fragrances out there, because I've found after looking through some of these that even some of the clones have also been discontinued. So then you're going down the rabbit hole of trying to track down discontinued clones of a discontinued fragrance, but then that wouldn't make sense because that fragrance is discontinued. So it's a bit harder than it may seem, but these here are top-notch designer fragrances, and we have some top-notch alternatives. Let's get into it. First up, Gucci Purum, the original. Don't have a bottle, unfortunately, but that's what it looks like. Now, I've talked about this many times on the channel, but that's a fantastic fragrance. Very woody, very dry, very smoky, and unfortunately, the only way to get it now would be to pay very expensive prices on eBay, which is something I haven't got myself to do yet, and I don't think I'm going to. Luckily for us, we don't have to do that. We can grab something like Bentley for Men Absolute and smell very, very similar. I actually did a review on this Gucci a while back on my channel. Someone actually sent me a sample of it, which was very kind of them, super awesome. So I was able to experience the real thing, and I've been able to put it head to head with the Bentley, and they are strikingly close. This Bentley is incredible. Woody, dry, masculine, a bit earthy, strong. This here is just absolutely incredible. And it's by far one of the best alternatives to Gucci Purum. And what's nice about the Bentley is it's very inexpensive to begin with. These fragrances typically around $35 on discounters. They will be linked down below. That's a steal. Next up, we have the Discontinued Libra or Libra by Yves Saint Laurent. This is from the L'Homme collection. If you've been around for a while, you would remember this. This one here was making a lot of top 10 spring fragrances, spring starting lineups, back when starting lineups were very popular. This one was really kind of the spring king. It was getting a lot of love. Not to the level of La Nuit de l'Homme. Obviously, I don't think anything else has reached that level, but it was doing really well for itself, mostly inside of the community here. You know, us frag heads, or the frag heads at that time, I wasn't really too heavily involved at the community at that time, were really loving it. And like usual, designer brands like to discontinue the fragrances that we love because the masses don't really approve of them. It just probably wasn't selling, and it just made sense for them to cut it off. So there was Libra. There was also Libra Tonic as a flanker of a flanker there. I don't have the tonic. I bought this one, which was not affordable. It was like $200 on eBay for a buying guide video, but it smells great. It's got violet leaf, it's ozonic, it's fresh, it's citrusy, it's bright. It smells like spring for sure. If you don't want to spend $200, you can spend about $40, $45 and get a fragrance from Givenchy. This one is gentlemen only. So this is where I have to reiterate, we're talking alternatives here. Now, I haven't been able to find what you consider to be a one-to-one clone of Libra. Now, to be honest with you, I don't think there is a one-to-one clone of any fragrance. Take a look at all the Aventus clones, everything else out there. I don't think there's a one-to-one of anything. There's always going to be splitting hairs. There's always going to be little nuances that are different, just little subtleties. But generally speaking, fragrances that get super close, people will call it a one-to-one clone just because it's easy to describe. So I understand that. So no one-to-one clones here with this one. It just gets you about as close as I can find on the market. It's nice because this one here is readily available. It's very affordable on discounters, and it's a great smelling scent. This one's also bright, ozonic, fresh. It's got a bit of a sparkle to it, a nice shine. Very nice, very airy, very light, effervescent. It smells like spring. It's got this similar watery, green, violet leaf type of composition in here, which puts it strikingly close to Libra. Again, there's going to be differences between the two, but I would say this is more leaning in that direction than not. And again, by far the closest that I've been able to find to get to Libra without buying Libra. And as per usual, there have been rumors that this is discontinued as well. Will that surprise you? I would say there's at least one rumor going around for every fragrance out there that, oh, it's discontinued. So I don't know if it is or not, but what I do know is I checked before this video and you can still buy it. So if you're watching this right now, you can get this. If you're watching this a couple years down the line and it has been discontinued and you can't get it, I'm sorry. That's just kind of the process here. But at the time of this video, it's able to be purchased for under $50. And in my opinion, it's a great pickup. Whether you're looking to get close to Libra, maybe it's a scent that you had at one point, you really like it, you just don't want to buy another bottle, can't find another bottle. Or if you're just looking for a super unique, pleasant spring scent, green, ozonic, fresh, airy, kind of watery, then check it out. Nice, nice stuff here. Great quality, great performance. Everything about this one is top notch. Next up, Gucci Purum 2. Yikes. That's a sad sight. You know, this one is kind of frustrating for me because I remember this being rumored to be discontinued back before it actually was. Rumors started going around that they're getting rid of it. I heard that and I believed it because of Gucci Purum 1, which we just talked about. They discontinued that one. Why would they not be afraid to discontinue this? They've discontinued many other great fragrances, so I didn't think that it was out of the realm of possibility. But at that time, I was just like, oh, you know what? I would rather spend $40 on something else. I don't remember. I think these went for, what, $40, $50, somewhere around in there on discounters at that time. I'm like, I would rather spend that money on something else, you know, get something different. I put it off. Prices started creeping up slowly. When it starts happening, sometimes it's a bit subtle. It's not huge changes where you notice it like night and day. They'll just kind of slowly nudge those prices up. And that's because it's getting harder for the brands to source as well, the discounters. And also because, of course, they want to make some extra money when they hear the discontinuation hype. So it's subtle. And then next thing you know, you forget about it and you're like, oh, that Gucci Purum 2. Yeah, I heard it was discontinued. Heard that rumor about a month ago. I'm going to just go grab another bottle, $100+. Then you're like, okay, I'm screwed. And $100+ isn't even that bad. Now these are probably going to be going for well over $200. I haven't looked, but that's kind of how it is with Gucci Purum 1. So when I make videos saying that, hey, I've heard that this fragrance or this fragrance might be discontinued, because I've done a few of those videos here on the channel and you guys do seem to like them. It's not me trying to cause or ensue any sort of panic. It's not me trying to piss people off saying that their favorite fragrance may be discontinued. It's not me having insider information, whether I know for sure or not. I'm relaying information here, so that way you don't have the same thing happen to you. I think if it's a fragrance that you like, backup bottles may be a smart idea. So if you start hearing about something that may be discontinued and that doesn't seem to go away and it seems like it may be possible, secure your backup bottle sooner than later. Otherwise, you're going to end up like me with less than 10 mils left in this bottle, and this is the last bit that I will ever have. It's kind of depressing when you think about it. So the alternative is Hanemori Him. Yeah, Him. Very creative, right? Now this is the Eau de Toilette. They do have an Eau de Parfum. Haven't smelled it. I just have this version here. These are dirt cheap on discounters. Like, dirt cheap. You can grab these. This is kind of one of those things where if you're making an order, buying a few different things, you can throw this in your cart and you'll probably forget that you did because it was such a little amount of money. You didn't even look at the price. You're just like, oh, that's a cheap. You throw it in and get your fragrance in that package a week later and you're like, oh, what, you know, did I order this? What's going on here? It's a cheapy thing because the cap is cheap. The bottle is cheap. When you smell it, at least for mine, when you smell it from the atomizer, it doesn't smell like Hanemori Him. It smells like chemicals, like plastic. And this is no joke. I've never had this with any other fragrance. There's something in the cap. It smells like chemicals. It smells terrible. But when you spray it, then you're like, oh, it's pretty nice. It's really good. It's got cinnamon. It's got some other notes that doesn't include tea. Gucci Purum is a tea-based fragrance. I think we're using violet leaf here and some other things. The cinnamon gives it a little bit of a spiciness. It's about as close as you can get, especially for the price. There may be some more, I guess, expensive alternatives out there. Maybe some other clone brands have this one. In fact, I know they do. Parfums Vintage. Imbue, I-M-B-U-E, is a clone of the Gucci, but this is legitimately $20 or less. I think well under that. And so for that price, easily one of the best Gucci Purum 2 clones out there for sure. Next up, we have Strength of the Ocean, Aqua Amara. Yeah, look at that. You know, these bottles are cool and all until you have a collection, and then they sit like this. And you're like, okay, how do I display this? Bottles are stacking up around it, bottles are stacking in front of it, then these get hidden, and it looks like you have a weird gap when you look at it from the top. Cool in theory, but a little bit annoying if you have a shelf of fragrances. If it's just sitting on your bathroom sink, like most guys out there probably who have cologne and don't know anything about it, probably just sits there on the bathroom sink. It probably looks pretty cool. Now, if you buy testers of these, sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll score a little plastic stand. I have a few of those, but they still just take up room. But, you know, it is what it is. This one's got orange, watery notes, seaweed, I believe. This is a very empty bottle. I'm actually not going to spray this one. I have another one. It's a full 100 ml backup that I picked up. This one was my first bottle, and as you can see, it's a little bit pathetic like that Gucci there, so I'm not going to spray. But you know what? It smells fantastic. Love it. There's a reason why it got hyped up. Now, do I think there are better options out there than this today in terms of summer fragrances? 100%. So is it worth going online and tracking this one down? It's going to be up to you. Now, I will say this also. You can still buy 50 mils of this. I don't know what it is about this. I think it is truly discontinued, but I think that there was just an absolute massive load of 50 mil bottles, and so discounters have still been getting those in. And with the Bulgari Aqua fragrances, I think pretty much everyone buys the 100s. I've even seen some people buy the 150s. I don't think I've hardly ever seen anyone hold up a 50 mil of this. So it's for sure safe to say that at the time when this was going crazy, people were buying 100 mils. So people were disregarding the 50s. They've got a crap ton of them. You could still buy this in half the size. But that's going to go away at some point, and then you're going to be left with paying eBay prices or not getting it at all. So in that situation, I have an alternative for you. Now, again, alternative, not a one-to-one clone, but to me, this one really kind of gives off a similar thing, but maybe in a more polished way, if I do say myself. That's Terre d'Hermès Ultra Frais, okay? Just to make people mad, that's how I'm going to say it, because people get mad when you say it wrong. So this one has watery notes. It's got orange. It's got woods, citruses, but orange. And so it's classy. It's clean. It's upscale. It's masculine. It's got this nice gentleman smell. Essentially, it's a much more fresh, toned back, and watery version of the original. But to me, it almost has this kind of rindy orange, this watery, aquatic, kind of woody feel like Aqua Amara has. Not one-to-one clones, but similar in their own ways, but also different in their own ways. And I think it's just kind of a nice little twist on that. And also, again, I haven't been able to find really anything else that smells like Aqua Amara other than this. There just isn't much out there for whatever reason. So, you know, if you kind of want to take your pick, that's where we're at. So this next one's a little bit funny, but we'll go ahead and cover it anyway. The discontinued fragrance, Invictus Aqua 2016. Now, 2018 is out and about, right? You can buy that on discounters, 50 bucks, whatever. Personally, I would buy the alternative that I'm about to list over Invictus Aqua 2016, and we'll go into that. Now, this alternative, the reason why I say this is funny is because the alternative was out before this. So this cloned the alternative, and then they discontinued this because it was a limited edition, and they brought it back. But ultimately, the one that's still standing to begin with, that started it all, is the one that I think you should buy, and that is Versace Havas. Okay, yeah, this came out in 2015. Obviously, this one, 2016. So this came first, this came second. They discontinued this one. They put out Invictus Aqua 2018 a couple years later, and that's where it's at. I don't like Invictus Aqua 2018 all that much. It doesn't have performance, doesn't have the same magic as this, and it doesn't have the same magic as Havas either. So this one here performs much better than the 2018. It's got a bit more of a juiciness, a fruitiness. Believe it or not, I find the quality to be a bit more smooth and attractive to me with this one than the new Invictus Aqua. And the old Invictus Aqua 2016 had terrible quality. So this one rules out quality on both versions, in my opinion. But the reason why I liked the 2016 so much was because it was so synthetic and harsh. It was a fragrance that just was super fun in the sun, very playful, summery, that sort of thing. And because it was so synthetic, it was so strong. This one here is not synthetic to that level. It's got a nice smoothness to it, nice juicy fruitiness, watery, aquatic, salty, very fun. And it also, again, has great performance here. To me, buy this over the 2018 version. Don't go out there and spend $200+ on Invictus Aqua 2016. Just buy this. This stuff here is killer. It works so incredibly well in the summertime, and it's a must-have. It's a staple, in my opinion. And I saved the best for last, okay? Now, this is one that I've been looking into for a while. And this one's also kind of funny. Last fragrance for this video. This absolute green beauty. Yeah, Gucci, they discontinued some of their all-time best, okay? I don't know why. I don't know what possessed them, but they did. Wow. Yeah, that's Gucci Envy. Sandalwood, incense, masculine, classy, woody goodness. Look at that. I mean, look at that color. That's just gorgeous. The scent is absolutely incredible. I mean, yeah, what else can I say? Now, what makes this one funny is that at one point there was a very popular alternative called Carven Homme. That one came out in 1999, and it was considered to be one of the best Gucci Envy clones that you could buy. And so people were buying it. It was also affordable. Carven fragrances, I wouldn't say are cheap, but they're not like Dior or Chanel price. They're kind of in the middle, maybe a step above the middle. I don't know what this one was going for at the time, but I know like Carven Homme, Carven Vetiver, kind of in the upper 50s. I think they're up there a little bit. So not cheap, not necessarily expensive, just kind of they're creeping up. And what do you know? They pulled a Gucci and they discontinued Carven Homme. So prior to me doing this video, before recording this here, I've been doing some research because I wanted to feature a clone or an alternative of Gucci Envy. And the closest thing that I've been able to find is this one right here. Floris Eau de Santal. Now, my bottle looks a little bit different. This is actually an old formulation I picked up off of eBay. If you look on Fragrantica, it'll look different. I'm probably going to buy the new version as well. That one's readily available. There were just a few of this older one, so I'm probably at some point going to compare the two, at least for myself. Maybe do a video for my members or something, because I know it's not going to be enjoyed here on the main channel so much. But yeah, I found that this one, it gets pretty close to Envy. Now again, this would probably upset some hardcore Envy lovers who probably bought, you know, 1,000 milliliters of it before it went discontinued, and oh, I have enough Envy to last forever, I don't need any clones. But for people who need an alternative, this is probably one of your best options out there on the market, at least from what I've been able to discover. Not a one-to-one clone, but it gets you close, man. It's got the woods, it's got the same type of like sandalwood smokiness that Gucci Envy has. It just smells fantastic. It doesn't quite have the same magic as the Gucci, but it gets you there pretty close. And it's got great quality. The performance is good. It's from a good brand. This one is a, I don't know, what would you say this is? Yeah, I don't know. Probably an eau de toilette, doesn't say. Eau de Santal, that's the concentration. I don't see eau de toilette or eau de parfum on here. It probably says on Fragrantica. But yeah, that's it. If you want something that gets you a similar ballpark feeling to Gucci Envy without paying the you don't even want to know prices, Eau de Santal by Floris is a nice option for you. It will be linked down below along with everything else here. If you want some discontinued fragrance action without spending that money, here you go. So big thank you to my channel member, Jay, for supporting the channel. He's been subscribed for over a year. He's commented some great video ideas. A lot of you wanted to see this. I apologize it wasn't 10. I wanted to make it 10, but this is kind of what I have at the time of this video. I got into collecting at a very just unconventional time. I'm not that old. I didn't get started on this back in the 90s to where I could have picked up a bunch of these discontinued fragrances. So I'm kind of working with what I have. And like Gucci Envy, I've got 2 bottles of that. I paid up for those. My backup bottle of Aqua Amara, I paid up for that. My backup bottles, multiple of Invictus Aqua 2016, I paid up for that. So it's a little bit harder for me to pick these up without really making a dent. The dent already goes to buying guide videos, which you guys love, and those are not cheap. So kind of working with what I got. If I pick up some more, if I figure out some more, I will definitely make another video like this. Let me know some of your favorite discontinued fragrances and their best alternatives. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.